Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Sports World with Patrick. I'm your host, Patrick, and I've got an exciting show for you today. Today, we're diving into the world of women's professional hockey, and I'm honored to have a very special guest with us, the talented and dynamic forward for the Minnesota Frost in the PWHL, Dominique Petrie. Dominic, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
I'm doing really good. I've been so pumped about this episode. I think I want to say it was back of when me and Joe were talking a little earlier in the month. I was already working on scripts left and right for the episode. I even ended up using some of the AI features on certain websites to create some of the questions. But first things first, let's dive into your journey. You've been a standout player in the league, but take us back to where it all started and what got you into hockey, and how did your journey lead you to becoming a forward with the Minnesota Frost?
I grew up in California my whole life. I was born in Northern California. I have an older brother. His name's Guy, and he was kind of the whole reason how I got into this thing. He got tickets to a Sharks game with my dad when he was younger. So him and my dad went to the game, and Mike Ritchie got into a fight like right on the glass in front of him, and he thought that it was the coolest thing ever. So he wanted to play, and then of course, me being the younger annoying sister, I wanted to do everything that he was doing too growing up. I kind of followed in his footsteps, and for my third birthday, got my first pair of skates, and then was watching the movie MVP and saw the little monkey going around the ice, and I wanted to be just like him. So put the skates on, and then kind of from there just fell in love with the game and absolutely loved it. So I grew up playing in Northern California. There wasn't many girls teams at that time in Northern California, let alone Southern California as a whole. Basically, my entire youth career, I played boys hockey. My family ended up moving to Southern California, and I played a year on the Junior Kings, and then about 7, 8 years on the Anaheim Junior Ducks, and my last year with the Goals before I shipped up to Boston for 4 years at Harvard University, where I did my undergrad and played college there. Um, Upon graduating from there, obviously with the COVID pandemic, everyone had the 5th years available. So I grad transferred to Clarkson University. Unfortunately, before I even stepped foot on that campus, I had torn my ACL and broken my tibia. So it was a season ending injury, which required surgery. So put me out for my first year there. But kind of got to know the girls, got to know the team, and was rehabbing, getting ready for basically my second year, which would be ultimately be my 5th year, or 6th year, however you want to look at it. And then came back and played last year at Clarkson, and we had an awesome dynamic run, which led to the Frozen Four. And then upon graduating, entered into the draft and was fortunate enough to be drafted by Minnesota, and then got here in the early winter and then kind of hit the ground running with them.
And that's awesome to hear. Obviously going to Harvard. I don't know if you remember the movie called The Social Network. That's one
Yes.
of my favorite movies of all time. Um, but obviously, you have a very awesome career. The way you've been able to um, come all the way from California into, of course, Boston and that area. And I know right now it's hockey's growing exponentially in that area. But I've also got to ask this question. Hockey, especially women's hockey, prior to the PWHL, wasn't really something that was always spotlighted. Um, as it is on the men's side. What is it like being part of the PWHL, and what does it mean for you to be a role model for younger players, especially in the women's game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that honestly it's incredible. It's something that growing up we didn't really have, so we couldn't really dream of or see because it wasn't actually in place yet. But obviously, there was tons of trailblazers in the game that were kind of had the vision and were able to hit the ground running to create this league for us. But I think now it's really cool to just to see how much of an impact we have on like little girls and young girls, and they show up to games or they see us in the airport and just come up and talk to us and are like, we want to be like you when we grow up one day, which is awesome. And I think just really cool to be able to make a positive impact in their lives and show them that they too one day can be here if they work hard and believe in themselves and have the dreams and know that they can get wherever they want to go. So I think it's really awesome and a cool opportunity just to see the young girls, not only in Minnesota, but even when I go back home in California now, seeing all of them talk about how, yeah, we want to play for the PWHL just like you did. It's so cool to see someone from California doing this and having so much success. So I think that it's just a really incredible opportunity for us to continue to show little girls that whatever they want to be, they can do. And I'm glad that we're able to kind of start the groundwork now for them for the league only to continue to grow. So hopefully by the time they play in it, it's going to be the size of the NHL and having a similar impact of that. So no matter what state you're from, you can go and you can watch some hockey in your local states, and you don't have to drive hundreds of miles or fly to be able to watch what we're able to do on the ice.
And so I do also have this question because you guys just played in my favorite city in the Midwest, in Detroit. Um, I think I've been there more time, or I've been there more than I have been anywhere else in the Midwest at the moment. But obviously that was a very great atmosphere there. Um, and obviously right now Michigan not having a women's hockey program or an NCAA Division I hockey program at the moment, um, it's hard for that. But how exciting was that environment to play there in Detroit at Little Caesars?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was truly incredible. I think I was fortunate enough. I had some family in town, and one of those included my older brother. And I remember like seeing him after the game, and him just basically being like, "That was so cool for me to see you in a packed out stadium playing like that, living out your dream." And it's just really cool. It's one of those things that when you step foot on the ice and you see, like, you look up and there's not an empty seat, it's really breathtaking, and it really just realizes how grateful I am and the opportunity that I am to play this sport and to make an impact. And I think that Detroit really showed up for us, which was awesome and incredible to see. And even throughout the different stops like that we've made on our takeover tour, whether it be in Raleigh or in Denver, like the fans really showed up for us, which I think is really cool and kind of shows that they want this for us and they want to support us and they want to watch women's sports, specifically women's hockey, and they kind of just need the opportunity to do it. So I really do hope that we're able to continue to expand and to give the fans what they want and to be able to just continue to grow the game in all these different cities.
I really love that. Sometimes I call Detroit Windsor, just because of how close those two cities are together. And so I do have this question because it's such an important question. I've asked quite a few players and I've always gotten a different answer. You know, you're known for being a high energy forward, and you really made an impact on the ice. But what's your mentality when you step onto the rink, and how do you prepare mentally for such a demanding sport?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things is you gotta take each day as they come. Every day is a new opportunity. Every day I wake up in the morning just grateful and blessed to have air in my lungs and to be able to do what I love, as my job as well. And I think one of the biggest things coming in is just how am I able to get better today, and what am I gonna do to become the player that I know that I can be, that kind of like that untapped potential. And I think for myself, it's the small things that add up and make the difference, whether it be the mental preparations, the physical preparations, the recovery, the nutrition, the little things like that. But just kind of going in with the attitude of like, I'm gonna get better today and how am I gonna do it? And kind of taking a step back, reevaluating what's worked, what hasn't, and then going forward from there. And I think too, as a professional athlete, obviously some days are easier to get up and tackle it than the others, but just remembering too that um, like you're not going to see the results overnight. It's going to be the accumulation of days and weeks and months and even years sometimes before you see that. So it's kind of like you have to be okay in the dark of not seeing the immediate results, but knowing that it's going to pay off over time. And I think that's one of the extremely gratifying things that we do as athletes, is that you grind day in and day out and you don't always see it, but in the long run, you do, and the results do pay off. So it's kind of just sticking and holding truth to what you know and what your beliefs are, and in the long run seeing how they pay off for you.
And obviously, Dominic, you've gotten to see a lot of different players, skill types. I know right now in Minnesota you have Taylor Heisey and Kendall Coyne. And obviously you were at Clarkson when Sarah Fuller was there playing. You know, how has it been trying to adjust to all these different type of skill sets you see in the different players, and the way coaching philosophies change? Because it is very different, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously every coach has a different vantage point and every player kind of has their own skill set. As you mentioned, like there's a handful that are on our team right now. And I think one thing that I try and do is pick their brains, see what they do, see what works, see how they see the ice, so that ultimately you can kind of start to figure out new things and new skills and new ways of looking at things that you haven't before. And um, obviously every coach and every staff is different in their philosophy, and I think just being able to be adaptive to what it is that they want, but then at the same time like staying true to who you are as a player, and being able to be that player in whatever it is that the coaches are asking you, and kind of staying true to your authentic self is important as well. So I think the combination of just being able to watch these players, not only on my team but on the other teams and their skill sets, and see what they're doing, and trying to apply those in your own games, and seeing the different ways in which they're just continuing to show why women's hockey should be at the forefront of it, and the talent that we have. But then again, using that to kind of expand my own toolbox myself, to just continue to make an impact on the ice every time I step out there.
And obviously, with the PWHL now, it's making a really big impact. I know I've seen a few ideas of where they can go to expand, but in your time at the PWHL, has there ever been a very memorable moment, where that memory is gonna last forever for you?
Yeah, probably for me, it would be my first game with the Frost. We were fortunate enough to be home. I was also fortunate enough to get one of the game tying goals that sent it into overtime. My parents were also there, and a couple of my friends were also there. So I think it was just a really special moment for myself. First, just because stepping on the ice, like I had no idea what to expect, and seeing the fans and seeing how everyone showed up. I think it was the first time I'd ever played in front of that many fans, so it was just taking it all in, and was just incredibly blessed and thankful that I was able to do this sport, and just kind of the atmosphere that it created. And it's like, whoa, like this is real. This isn't a dream anymore. This isn't something that we're hoping that we can get. This is something that we actually have, and we're working to just continue to build. So I think for myself, it was definitely um, that first game for me, and just seeing all the fans out there and how surreal it was in that moment was incredible. And then when I was able to score too, kind of just hearing the stadium erupt was something that I don't think that I'll ever forget in all my years. So it was really cool.
And then I know the competition and the PWHL is pretty close with each other. I love watching the games every day. Um, when I get a chance. So, who would you say has been the toughest opponent so far that you have played against?
Uh, that's definitely a tough question. I think the parity in the league is up there, and every night if you're not bringing your A game, like you're gonna have a tough night. And I think that we've definitely seen that. And I think for us, we go neck and neck with a lot of teams. And I think for myself, it always gets chippy when we play Toronto. So that's one team that like I enjoy playing against, just because they're fast, they're physical. They kind of play similar to us and match it, and it seems like they're always back and forth games and super tight.
And then we're gonna go back a little bit on this just a little bit. Obviously, like you mentioned, there's a lot of girls when you go back to California, and uh, everywhere you guys have stopped on the takeover tour, who are very excited about the idea that they will have the possibility to play in the PWHL when they can make that step. You know, what advice would you give to young girls who are dreaming of the idea of playing in the PWHL?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I would say is like never give up on your dreams and always believe in yourself. It'll take a lot of hard work, it'll take a lot of sacrifices, but at the end of the day, it ultimately is worth it. And no matter what anyone tells you, if you believe it and you believe in yourself, you're going to be able to get here one day and to continue to make an impact down the line for many generations to come as well. So I would just say keep working hard, keep believing in yourselves, and then most importantly is just have fun with it. At the end of the day, like, it is a sport, you're going to make lifelong friendships and memories. So just make sure that every day, while it can get hard sometimes, you just have fun and you enjoy the moment, because one day all of us aren't going to be able to be sitting here and playing the game. So we have to enjoy it and take advantage of it while we can.
So we're gonna go ahead and lighten up. We're gonna have a few fun questions here.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, let's go with the. Here's the first question. If you could have dinner with any athlete, past or present, who would it be and why?
Definitely the GOAT, Michael Jordan. I think, as I said, he's the greatest athlete of all time. Not only what he was able to do, like on the court, and the way he worked and his mentality of things, but just the way that I think he kind of set the forefront before anyone else did, of how athletes are their own brands. And I guess was the OG influencer, you can say, with his Air Jordan line and kind of how he created Nike. So I would just be really intrigued to pick his brain, and then also to just kind of see the inner workings of his mindset, because he truly was one of the best that there is, and I would love to see kind of how he approached each and every day, coming from himself.
That's a very great choice. Okay, so to the next one. You're stuck on a deserted island with your team. Who's the one teammate you'd want to have with you to keep things fun and why?
Oh, um, probably Clara Himlarova. She could definitely make me laugh and keep things lighthearted. Likes to give me shit about a lot of things, so I think she would make the time pass by quickly, and probably would be able to come up with some crazy way to get us off the island too.
I really love that. And a good laugh can go a long way, especially on a deserted island.
Yeah.
Um, to to the next question, if you could switch places with any famous person for a day, who would it be?
Oh, hmm. I don't really know. I haven't thought about this at all. I don't know. Part of me maybe thinks someone, I don't know if it would be her necessarily, but like someone like Taylor Swift or a musician of some sort. Just to actually, I'll take that back. Probably Kygo. He's one of like my favorite artists, and I would love to spend a day in his shoes, kind of up on stage or in Norway, on the turntables, and just see what it is to be like him for a day.
And obviously, you've had a long career. So before I get to the last fun question, I also have this question: Who is the funniest teammate, and what is the best prank that has been pulled in your entirety of playing hockey in your career?
Oh, probably one of the funniest teammates I had was, like, Emma Buckles and Brooke Jovanovich and Keely Moy. The 3 of them were some of my teammates at Harvard and were in my graduating class there, and they definitely knew how to keep it light, and we would do, tons of pranks, like, in the month of January, where we basically were someone was picked on our team, and they would have to be, pranked for the duration of the month, by someone else on the team. I just remember one of them, um, was someone, I mean, there were so many that were done that year, but one of them was, like, we would put balloons, in like our coach's office, or one of our teammates, they put their credit card on ice and completely froze it. Another one, they put a dead fish in a skate. So there was a whole bunch of crazy ones that went on, and it was like just going back and forth with each other. But I think probably my favorite one was that someone switched out, which was so cruel at the time, but hilarious to all of us. Someone switched out one of our teammates' shampoo with mayonnaise and then put some like smelling stuff in it so that it would mask the smell of it. And they didn't realize it for the entire month until finally they told them. So that was probably one of the funniest ones just because of how long it went on for. Um, but yeah, the pranks at Harvard were up there sometimes, but we haven't had too many on our team this year yet. So maybe we'll have to
And
start a
then
prank war at some point.
I know. Did the coach ever find out who did, like, who put all the balloons
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the?
So at the end, it basically um they like you would tell the whole team who you had, and people would suspect that certain people would have one of them, or they would have the other person, and you would kind of get on to them all year. But um yeah, I was victim to a couple pranks too throughout my time. So you have to give and take sometimes.
And
So
then we'll get to the very last question. If you weren't playing hockey, what do you think you'd be doing?
um probably working some type of finance or banking job, with the hopes of one day maybe becoming a CEO or owning my own business. I would love to think that maybe I could have been a pro athlete of a different sport in another life, but it probably would have required just as much dedication and work as it did with hockey. But um, that's probably what I would have been doing. So I'm very grateful that I'm here playing hockey every day and living my dream.
That is incredible. You know, there are moments that feel so rewarding. Um, Especially knowing how much effort every single player puts into each game. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about the future of the sport. Where do you see the future of the sport in the next few years, and what do you hope to see for the next generation of women's hockey players?
Yeah, I think that in the next few years, we're only going to continue to see the sport grow and continue to see women's sports as a whole grow. I think we've definitely shown that there is a want and a need for women's sports and for people to support us once we were given the platform. So I think that the league will probably just continue to expand and continue to grow and continue to have the best players playing against each other throughout the country. And I hope that in many years to come that, as I said earlier, like when my kids are playing sports, that there is teams all across the states and we don't have to drive or fly across the country just to be able to watch it in real life, but that they'll be able to have a local team growing up that they can dream of one day playing for.
And I do have this question, sort of an extra question on top of the question here. But obviously, I know college sports, the landscape of college sports is changing in general. And I know there are not very many teams at the moment that are in the NCAA Division One women's side, and I know there's a big push. Like we were mentioning earlier in the show, Detroit, where you guys were playing. There's a big push for Michigan to have a women's hockey program. What do you think has to happen in order for women's college hockey to grow in the ever changing landscape of college sports that is going on at the moment?
Yeah, I think that they need to kind of see that the demand is there and that the players want to be there and that they are going to be able to contribute positively to the school. I think another thing too is just the impact that it makes on the student athletes' lives when they're able to play a sport and go to these schools and kind of create the fan base. And you see what a lot of schools, like I was fortunate when I went to Clarkson, and had the experiences that I had there, but just for the community to get behind the team and really support and want to see the team chair or flourish and grow. I think that just being able to know that the players want to be there and the people want to be there, and that the fans will come if you give it to them, is one of the biggest things. And I think that in recent years, we definitely have seen the push of getting more programs involved and continuing to grow the game throughout the schools. And I just hope and pray that it continues to be able to flourish in those ways, so that no matter where it is in the country, if it's Detroit or it's Arizona or if it's LA, that these schools are able to support women's hockey and see it grow and allow these student athletes to live out their dreams playing the sports that they love, and also just get the best educations that they can at these different schools.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. Now I would say you got the lucky end of college sports being out on the East Coast. Um, at least you didn't have to deal with Michigan. I went to one game in Michigan, and I cannot believe how active their student section is. I've been to three different schools in the Midwest. They have the most active student section. It's also the most fun to be around that student section. Like, went to one game, it felt like an earthquake was going through
Yeah.
there. Like, it was completely wild. Um, but obviously, did you have a favorite school between Clarkson and Harvard?
No, they both were up there. There was great I had great experiences at both of them, so I really they both hold an incredibly special place in my heart, and I'm glad that I was able to experience both of them.
That was great. Obviously, it sucked. I'm for sure that you had an ACL tear right before you got onto campus.
Yeah, it was
It,
unfortunate, but it's all part of the plan, and I just am grateful that I'm back healthy and playing the sport that I love every day. So
yeah, you guys played a really good game. Obviously, got to watch a few games here and there. And I definitely love what the PWHL has been doing. Definitely, if Detroit does end up getting a expansion team, I think that's going to be, which I know I saw a bunch of posts on social media this weekend of how much they love it there. Obviously, they all want a team there. But we'll see how it goes with them. Um, and then just one more question here. It's you know, obviously we've been talking about the crowds a little bit here and there. What is it like to play in front of such passionate crowds? Whether it's in Minnesota or even on these takeover weekends.
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I think it just shows how much the fans want the game and love the game and want to support the game, and it's really cool to see everyone that kind of just shows up, and whether they be in apparel or they have signs or they're just cheering at the top of their lungs for you. It's really awesome, and without them, like, we wouldn't be where we are today. So I'm glad that they have been able to see what we produce on the ice, and that they like it, and that they're standing by us and want to see us succeed. So it's really awesome and incredible.
I definitely love that. I feel like the PWHL is all about making sure the next generation feels seen and supported. Nick, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story. It's been amazing about hearing your insights on your career, the league, and what you hope to see in the future. Obviously, I do believe you guys will be in the playoffs once again. Been doing my math because I normally do a lot of math around this time of the year, trying to figure out what each and every single team and every league needs to get to the playoffs. And I definitely know I'll be cheering you guys on and the Frost.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.